Get ready.
Welcome back to our Unbuilt series, where we take a look at parks and lands that unfortunately never made it to construction. WestCOT was originally proposed as a second gate for Disneyland Resort in California and sibling park to EPCOT. As major fans of EPCOT and Walt Disney World, we think it's a real shame that this park was never built. On the other hand, in its place we did get Disney California Adventure, which does act as a small compromise. But why did this project never go ahead? In this video, we take an in-depth look at what might have been. Get ready. The original concept and plan. The original concept and idea for Disneyland's planned second gate was originally presented in 1991. After the roaring success of EPCOT at Walt Disney World, the Disney franchise announced that a replica park called WestCOT was to be built. Like its predecessor, WestCOT was to be themed around a utopian vision of the future. While EPCOT tried to give guests an insight into what the future might look like, WestCOT aimed to take them there. From the concept art, we know that the park's centerpiece would have been a much grander version of Spaceship Earth, and was to be aptly named Space Station Earth. This golden sphere would have been about 300 feet in size, which would have made it nearly twice the size of Spaceship Earth. To put it into perspective, if this had made it to construction, this centerpiece would have been the biggest that Disney had ever constructed. Upon entering the park, guests would quickly meet this massive sphere centerpiece and be presented with two different paths to take. The first path would lead to a Future World replica, while the second path would lead to another version of World Showcase. Both of these areas would have had a lot of similarities to EPCOT, but with their own unique spin. As well as this, WestCOT was set to be the first Disney park with accommodation inside the park itself, with hotel plans for each of the pavilions in the World Showcase. This accolade was eventually taken by Tokyo Disney Sea, with the opening of Hotel Miracosta in 2001. WestCOT's layout. As mentioned, WestCOT was to contain a replica of Future World and World Showcase. Although similar in layout, there were some differences and improvements planned. The initial plan for WestCOT was that a shuttle system would transport guests from the parking lot to the centre of the park. As described, Future World and WestCOT would have been dominated by Space Station Earth. As well as this, it would have also contained an attraction similar to the Adventure Through Inner Space, named Cosmic Journey. Other attractions would have included improved replicas of EPCOT's Horizons, Journey into Imagination, The Living Seas, The Land, and Wonders of Life. The World Showcase area would have also been a close replica to the World Showcase in EPCOT. However, the main difference would have been that the pavilions were to be grouped into regions, rather than individual countries. These regions would have included the Asian corner of the world, which was a pavilion that would have contained a lot of elements of Chinese, Japanese, and Indian culture. In addition to this, it also would have housed some pretty cool attractions, most notably a steel coaster called the Red Dragon. This coaster was set to run through the famed Dragon's Teeth Mountains, and its cars would have been designed like Chinese lion dragons. Another pavilion would have been the African and Middle Eastern corner of the world. This pavilion was set to feature a whitewater river raft attraction, which would be set on a replica of the River Congo-Beezy. As well as this, there would have also been exhibits on farming and the three biggest religions around the world. It had also been rumoured that as part of the park's first expansion, it was planned that the Egyptian pyramids would be added to the pavilion. Unfortunately, we never got to see if this rumour would have been true. The next pavilion would have been the European corner of the world. This pavilion would have been a blend of many of the European countries found in EPCOT's World Showcase. Interestingly enough, the pavilion was set to include an attraction called Tivoli Gardens, which would be a recreation of the Danish park, which had helped inspire the original Disneyland. The final pavilion would have been the American corner of the world. This would have been the first pavilion that guests would have encountered upon entering the World Showcase. In terms of theming, it would be heavily based around the USA, Canada, and Mexico. It was said that much of the theming associated with Main Street USA would have also been evident at the pavilion's entrance. In addition to this, there would have been a replica of the American Adventure, as well as an indoor Mexican area, similar to that in EPCOT. As well as the different regions, one of the main attractions associated with WestCOT's World Showcase would have been World Cruise. This boat journey ride would have taken guests all around World Showcase, and would have merged together the history scenes of Spaceship Earth and the now defunct World of Motion to essentially create an attraction focused on the history of the world. Some scenes would have included an animatronic of Leonardo da Vinci working on the Mona Lisa, as well as Michelangelo painting the Sistine Chapel, among other great moments in history. Reasons why the park never went ahead. As we know, WestCOT never saw the light of day. But why was this? Well, there was a couple of reasons. The first and probably the main reason was cost. In 1995, Disney was losing money fast. This was largely due to the underwhelming performance of Disneyland Paris, or Euro Disney as it was known then. In total, it was estimated that in order to construct WestCOT, it would cost the company about $3 billion, which, to be frank, would have been way too much of a risk at the time. The second reason was space. Disneyland is built right in the middle of Anaheim, and unlike Walt Disney World in Florida, it does not have an abundance of space to expand into. Acquiring the land needed to build the park would have been very difficult, and would have most likely meant having to relocate thousands of people living in residential areas close to the park. To top things off, residents also complained that the giant space station Earth would have been a massive eyesore. And if Disney had gone ahead with this, it could have really damaged their relationship with the surrounding community. In light of this, and with WestCOT now truly put to bed, CEO at the time Michael Eisner needed to come up with another idea. The company still wanted to open a second gate, but at a more reasonable cost. It was shortly after this that the idea of Disney California Adventure was presented, a theme park themed around the state of California. In total, the park cost around $650 million to construct, a far cry from the $3 billion estimate for WestCOT. It's worth noting though, that upon its opening in 2001, Disney California Adventure received a lot of negative feedback, and this later forced Disney to invest another $1.1 billion to overhaul the park between 2007 and 2012, just to get it to where it is today. In our opinion though, although WestCOT sounded great, we do think overall Disney California Adventure has been a great addition to the Disney franchise overall. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to check out our Unbuilt video on 10 planned Disneyland attractions that never made it to construction, on screen now. Do you think Disney will ever revive the WestCOT concept? Let us know in the comments below, and don't forget to like and subscribe if you haven't already.